Welcome back, friends, to another video. This week we're talking about the history of debt. Now, something important has happened recently. In current events, the US has completely removed US troops from the country of Afghanistan. Now, I've made a whole video on this. It's on my channel. You can check it out. But one of the main takeaways was that the new Taliban government is deciding right now whether to make debt illegal. This is something that historically the Taliban has done because debt and interest is illegal under Sharia law. Now, this changed 20 years ago when the US came in and helped set up banks and started issuing loans. Well, right now, the Taliban government is deciding whether to shut it all down. Now, here in the US, we're watching this confused and thinking, why would you do that? But that's just because from the US perspective, debt is such a normal part of everybody's lives. But people forget that there was a time in Western culture when debt was also illegal. People forget that. So in this video, we're going to look back at that time and figure out what changed. So sit back, relax. We are going to talk about the history of debt. I want to start with a basic description of debt. Debt is loaning money with interest. This takes a lot of different forms, including credit cards, home loans, and government bonds. But they are all essentially the same thing. Debt is really based on the idea that we're all going to die. We all go through this life progression over time. If you think of the timeline of someone's life, there's different phases. So you start out when you're born, then you go through midlife where you're the most productive and able to generate the most money, and then you grow old. And when you get older, you're going to be more tired and you start losing physical ability. At some point, you're going to want to retire and stop working altogether. If you think about this timeline from a financial perspective, you will want to earn money during your midlife in order to have enough savings to support yourself in retirement when you are older. In a society without debt, this creates a number of problems. Money is locked in the savings of the older generation. Older generations cannot earn any money on those savings, and younger generations do not have funding to start businesses. When you introduce debt into a society, it unlocks all that savings. It allows the younger generation to borrow funds from the older generation before they pass away. The older generation can say to the younger generation, hey, you guys, you're full of energy. Here's a business loan. You can start a business and you can pay me interest. That way, my savings is not just sitting in a savings account. I'm actually putting it to work and earning interest on my money. What debt effectively does is double the cash in society. Because instead of cash just sitting in someone's bank account somewhere, you're actually putting it to work to grow businesses. Debt sounds like a great thing, but there was a time in Western culture when debt was illegal, and that period was called the Dark Ages. This was the period of time in Europe when they had castles and knights. There was a Black Plague that was a worldwide pandemic that killed so many people. People forget that Western society at this time was a theocracy. We were governed by spiritual leaders, specifically the Pope in the Catholic Church. No one got to vote. God chose the leader, and you had to do what he said or you would be killed. So during this time, some horrible things were done in the name of religion, and it is shocking to read those stories. There was this thing in Spain called the Spanish Inquisition, and they would just show up at your house. If they thought you were doing something wrong, they would take you away. But they would not just kill you, they would torture you and then burn you alive at the stake. So before you get self-righteous about the Taliban killing their own people, you have to remember what we used to do in Western culture when we were led by religious leaders. The point of all of this was that during this time, the Catholic Church made it illegal to issue debt and charge interest. This was thought as sinful, and if you were involved in lending money, you would go to hell, and the Spanish Inquisition would also kill you. But there was an interesting thing that happened. There was a community that did not outlaw debt, and it was the Jewish community. During the Dark Ages, there were a number of Jewish communities that had migrated to Europe. And so you had the majority of people in Catholic communities where debt was illegal, but if you needed a loan, you could go meet with a moneylender in the Jewish community. Now, it's sad to talk about, but even back then, there was anti-Semitism about the Jewish community. Now, just to be clear, anti-Semitism and hatred towards any community is horrible. In this case, it came from the idea of moneylenders and whether debt was illegal or not. As you can imagine, sometimes people get frustrated making debt payments, and this fueled a lot of hate between the Catholics and the Jewish community. And we see this anti-Semitism in a play written by William Shakespeare called The Merchant of Venice. In the play, the bad guy of the story is a Venetian Jewish moneylender. And he makes a loan to the hero of the play, and in a really cruel agreement, if the hero defaults on the loan, he has to pay with a pound of flesh. Of course, the hero defaults and all kinds of drama happens, and then the play ends with the Jewish moneylender forgiving the debt and converting to Catholicism. This is what happened in our history. Debt was illegal because our spiritual leaders said you would go to hell. But the technology and the knowledge was there. The moment in history when all this changed was called the Renaissance. Now, during the Renaissance, local governments in Italy started making their own rules, and some of them started allowing debt. One of the reasons for this was for trading with ships on the ocean. Now, as you can imagine, sending out a ship to pick up goods from the other side of the world requires a lot of upfront cost. Debt allows you to get the money up front, which you can then pay back with interest when you return with the goods. So debt fueled all of these trading expeditions out of Italy. So how did they get around the laws of the church? How did they change people's minds? A lot of it has to do with someone who is called the father of accounting, and his name is Luca Pacioli. Luca Pacioli wrote the first textbook on accounting. Now, accounting is important because accounting is what makes debt possible. You have to be able to show someone your accounting books to make them confident in giving you a loan. But Luca Pacioli was not just an accountant. Luca Pacioli was also a Catholic monk. He came from the Catholic Church. So here was a leader in the financial industry who was also a spiritual leader. And he was traveling around Italy saying that debt was okay. He was saying it's just a piece of technology that can be used to make the world a better place. When you read Luca Pacioli's writings, he writes as if accounting is spiritual. To him, showing someone your accounting books is about showing your reputation and your trustworthiness, and debt is an extension of those ideas. Debt is about building business relationships with people and allowing them to trust you with money. This was the moment in time that people started to acknowledge that debt and interest was legal. It was okay. And this concept changed the course of history forever. This is what people do not realize. This simple concept caused the Renaissance because it effectively doubled the amount of money in society. The simple concept was that you could separate out the technology of debt and interest away from religion. You could take out a bank loan and not go to hell. You could still be religious and let people put their money to work to earn interest. Let's bring this back to today. This is also the moment that is happening in Afghanistan right now. I hope the Taliban realizes how important this is to people's lives. We have seen this exact moment in history before during the Renaissance. And if you embrace the concept that debt can be separate from religion, it will change your society forever for the better. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, go ahead and leave a comment in the comment section down below. I'm Zach from Wolves in Finance. Thank you for watching.